What's going on, crew? I'm out here in Las Vegas with one of my buddies, Josh Tajiri from Bay Area Pro Shop.
What's up?
We out here in Vegas getting it in, having some fun. And I really wanted to make sure I got something for all of my three-finger bowlers, you know, the people with the thumb, where bowling really started, the traditional bowlers. Wanted to get a video for you guys to be able to show kind of my game, but not just my game, because I know I'm a little bit unique as well. But from the perspective of just having three fingers and some of the things we can look out for. And hopefully you can take some of this home with you, and you got a pro shop operator that can also give you a little bit of insight on maybe the type of balls that you might need to use, some of the situations where you might make changes, and all that good stuff. Anything else, Josh? You got anything you want to give them?
Yeah, no, we'll go through and see how Rich's game is going, and see how the balls react for him, and maybe give him some suggestions, and we'll go from there.
Hey, sound like a plan to me.
Sounds good.
My dog. So I'm gonna start off with my solid first. Today I got my Summit Ascent with me. Before I even get into that, I personally use the Vice Grip ITs, or ITs, or whatever you want to refer to them as. It's basically the interchangeable thumb. A lot of people that don't use them have problems with their thumb swelling up and then not being able to get out of the ball. And then you complain about that, and it just throws off your whole game. It's the last thing you want to be worrying about when you're bowling. Take it from me. What do you feel like are some of the most important things about ITs that people don't really typically know?
So one of the best benefits about it, right, is feel from ball to ball to ball. Yes, as you know, pro shops, we try to get close and accurate as possible when we drill everyone's thumb. But you know, the beveling and the shaping and just the sanding and just the overall, you know, like the core swelling in and out, it could change the feel of their thumb. But with an you have that same thumb, and you can go from ball to ball to ball,
yeah.
And you have that consistency and that same feel from ball to ball. And
I do like
that.
that.
Rich just swapped it to his Ion from his Summit Ascent, and he's got that same feeling in his thumb. That's one of the really good benefits about the IT.
And having a bigger one, and one that actually is like your everyday, is extremely important for when your hand gets swollen a little bit.
Yep.
You're able to just switch. And then some people I know use tape to kind of, you know, mitigate how thick it is. Or
yeah. Like tape, you can just micro adjust that. So if it's like right now, it's really, really cold in here, and you would put like white pieces of tape in the front. I wouldn't recommend putting in the back unless you want to feel a little bit of friction. But most common, they use black tape on the back. Okay. You put the white texture tape on the front, or at Vice, we have colored tapes. So we have Vice Field Performance tape, and they come in eight different feels. Like one is the fastest, and 8 being the slowest as far as like texture and tackiness. So with Vice, we can like kind of gauge that tackiness on the feeling of that front part of your thumb. Okay. But that's kind of what tape is, just to micro adjust the width of the thumb. So if it's feeling a little bit big, you want to put tape in. And if you have tape in your ball already and you're getting a little stuck, it's okay to take tape out. Like, don't try to just keep trying to throw it and jam your thumb out of there. Just be like, if you're like, you threw a shot and it's like, oh, that didn't come off that clean. Yeah. And you have tape in your ball, be like, well, just take a piece of tape out. And
That's
the best way
point,
to do
right?
it is to layer your tapes.
Okay.
You know, like, don't just put one in. You can put multiple pieces of tape in. Like for me, I put 4 to 5 pieces of tape in my ball. And then I just take out as needed or add as needed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well I got one in this one. This is my bigger one. So I know I could take it out if I needed it to be a little bit bigger.
Yep.
I'm gonna try to start off actually with my regular in there, and we'll see how it's feeling. If it's feeling a little tight, we've been bowling a lot these last 2 days.
Yep.
I'll adjust. So let's see how we're looking. Lately, one of the biggest things I've been working on is my timing with getting my thumb out the ball a little bit quicker. You let me know what you feel.
All right. Great shot.
Whoa. Trip 4.
That looked pretty good off your hand.
It did? Okay, cool. It felt pretty good. I know sometimes my arm swing gets a little bit fast. As a two-hander, I feel like they don't have to worry about that quite as much.
Yeah.
But us using 3 fingers and having the full arm swing, we can get in the habit of pulling it back ourselves.
Yeah. You know, like Mark talks about a lot, because I get coached by Mark. I've been getting coached by Mark for over 12 years now.
Shout out to Mark.
Shout out to Mark, always. What thing that he, you know, works on a lot is that gentle push away. You know, it's like handing a ball to a baby. That's always like what you want to do when as you're starting, just because like what Rich was talking about. If you go quick and then your timing is just completely out of whack.
And you're using shoulders,
Exactly.
all kinds of stuff.
Exactly.
So the 70-30 comes into play even more with that, right? Not mad at that shot.
That was a good shot.
Timing felt pretty good.
Yep.
So what do you typically do when you leave a 10 like
ring
that?
10 like that. So I was looking at that shot. It was clean off your hand. Looked pretty good going down the lane. I think we kind of created some carry down. So what it looked like is just the ball just went a little bit too long.
Okay.
And so what I'd recommend is kind of adjusting the surface off of this. So right now you can see the ball's a little bit of a lane shine.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna adjust the surface. I'm gonna grab, let's do a 2000.
2000, yeah.
I got a 2000 Vice sounding pad here.
Nothing too crazy.
Nothing too crazy.
2000 is so that it's not too early, but it should give us a little bit more of a read than it has with the lane shine. So if you're kind of wondering what sanding pads to use, 1000 is a little bit more aggressive. It's going to read a little bit earlier on the lane. 2000, you'll still be able to get a little bit of shape. That's where most solids, you would say, probably
I would
lie.
say the most common.
Yeah, most solids at box is about 2000 grit. So if you have any pads and you want to get back to that solid, kind of feel of when you first got your ball, 2000 is probably the range you want to be in, unless you're bowling on a sports shot and you need something a little bit.
Yeah, so here we got the shine knocked off of it, so it's at a 2000 now.
Okay.
So let's get this reset going here.
And we'll talk about 10 pins in a little bit. I can tell you guys my method of picking up 10 pins. Everybody has their own strategy.
All right, so throw the same shot.
Okay. So right now I'm standing at, what is this, 37? Sliding it around like 41, but my arms are so long that it's not exactly where I lay it down. Tugged it.
Miss right.
Yeah. So that's what I look like when I miss right and I tug the ball. It's not pretty. But I think that comes from me not having as much of a relaxed grip. And sometimes when I pull it back, that forces everything to tense up.
Yeah.
And I can't really get my thumb out.
You can't clear the thumb.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one wasn't as clean as the other two shots.
No, not at all. So I'm gonna try that again. That's also why I was considering using my other thumb, because it does feel a little bit tight.
Yeah, I would.
I'm gonna try it again. I think
Okay.
that was because of my pressure.
I think it's a little tight, but we'll see.
There we go. And what do you
That
know?
was
We
better.
split out the 10.
Yep, got the 10 out. Ball read a little bit sooner. Didn't go as long. Got
Yeah.
into its roll.
That felt decent.
Shape was a little bit better. I still think you're dragging a little bit on the thumb.
So I'm gonna try to switch
So,
my thumb.
Yeah.
I should be able to clear a little bit easier that way.
It's like just a smidge.
Yeah.
You know?
And how do you feel about tilt and rotation as a 3-finger, as opposed to how some 2-handers may be able to get away with throwing the ball, because we don't have quite as much forgiveness, I feel like.
Well, luckily for me, I've tried both, and if you come follow my channel, I throw it can both one-handed and two-handed.
Yep.
What I notice is with two-handed, I'm able to shift and manipulate my hand a little bit more and control the accent tilt. With 3 fingers, it's a little bit harder, and it's all about making sure that your ball's in the timing spot in the right time, making sure that you're not turning your shoulder too early, and then adjusting tilt. That's like you have to manipulate your hand in a certain way and position it so that you can create more tilt or more axis rotation depending on what you're trying to achieve. And the hardest part is, even for me, is to stay on the inside of the bowling ball.
That's everybody's issue.
It's everybody's issue.
Everybody wants to talk about rolling the ball more.
Yeah.
Well, that really comes with being able to come out of the inside of the ball and having,
it's
taught me.
It's really hard to do.
Yeah, it's like thinking about a handlebar going through the ball.
Yep.
And it's starting out like this so that it can go through the full range of motion and you get the most out of the ball.
Yep.
If it starts out like this, which would be a little bit negative, the ball doesn't really have an opportunity to go through that, roll, skid, flip phase that you want to see. And it's not going to read every lane the same. You'll be wondering why your ball reaction is different every time you throw the ball.
Correct.
So when we want to blend a lane, we usually want to come out of the inside a little bit more. There we go. Oh, I got all of that one.
You got all of that one.
Yeah. So now that my thumb isn't as tight, I'm able to relax my hand and really hit the ball and catch it at the bottom a little bit more. For me, I know a lot of people want to learn how to hook the ball, and they skip steps, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know, everybody wants to get to the yo-yo and EJ release. We talk about that all the time. But
the magic horseshoe.
yeah, the magic horseshoe that you get to. For me personally, it almost feels as if I'm making an attempt to come out of the ball like this, as opposed to thinking about coming out of the side of it and hooking it. I think when I try to hook it too early is where all my problems pretty much lie.
Yeah.
The latest that I can hook it, the better.
Early, then it's here.
Yeah. See, I can feel that every time. And that's what I try to avoid for the most part. So when I throw a shot that feels really good and I don't get the reaction that I want, that's when I'm actually able to make an educated change on, you know, if I'm gonna move or not. You know, when you throw a bad shot and you're pissed about the ball reaction or however it turned out, I don't think that that's a good time to really adjust.
Yeah.
A lot of people make adjustments off of their own bad shots instead of actually reading what the ball, you know, in the lane are doing. So for me, that felt like a decent shot. Like I caught it a little bit more. So I'm probably gonna move in just a little now that my thumb's a little bit more relaxed. And I'm gonna see if I can get a little bit better of an angle.
That's better.
Yeah, see, a little bit better of an angle.
And
but
9-pin.
Of course I leave that 9-pin though.
Yeah. Got out of it clean, and the ball right off the right spot.
Yeah.
It's just a little too strong, so I would just make a small adjustment, maybe like a 1-0 left.
1-0 left?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll try that, and then I'll probably go to something a little cleaner. One of the shinier. Let's maybe, what would you go next? You go to the hybrid, or would you go to the Pearl Symmetrical? We got our Phase AI and our Ion Pro with us.
Based on what the lane's giving you, I'd probably go to the Phase AI right now.
Okay, so after this one, I'm gonna go one board left. Leave my eyes where they were.
Yep. Just make that one board move left.
And that is when my tilt is negative though.
Yeah.
So that's me trying to hook it too early.
Helping it.
Yeah, if I try to help it too much, my axis ends up becoming a little bit too negative, and it's just like he talked about, it'll come off the spot a lot sharper. So that's me not relaxing my hand all the way through the shot and then turning it over at the end. It's got to be a little bit later than that. The earlier that it is, the more that I end up tearing up my tilt and also
you're getting that ball started way too soon. That's basically what it's doing.
So when we say cleaner, that means the ball gets down the lane a little bit easier, smoother, less effort. If you want to use terms, it gets you to the Baker box a little bit easier without, you know, having to force it down there. And those are usually your shinier balls. Some shiny balls that are really clean come off the spot really, really hard. You got your Vibos, you got, what are some other examples?
Vibos, we got the Optimum Idol Pearl, Lightning Blackout, the new one, the Road Warrior. Those are balls with really clean covers, and they just want to really be really sharp off of the spot.
There we go. Oh my gosh. And that's the kind of BS that happens sometimes, but
yep, that's just a bad rack. I mean, nothing you can really do about that one.
I'm not mad at that ball though. It felt pretty decent. So I'm gonna switch to something a little cleaner. My Phase AI, which should be a little bit more responsive. Solids, typically, for me, I know I'm using when I want to really predict the shape of the ball. You're not gonna worry about a solid coming off the spot too hard and aggressively. It's usually a bit of a more smooth motion. As a 3-finger bowler, I feel like what would you say? My speed isn't, I'm not like a super fast bowler, but I'm not really on the low end either, so I would say I'm kind of intermediate when it comes to speed.
I would say, you're probably about, off of your hand, it looks like about 17.5 miles per hour. And then
good guess, that's it.
Is it right?
Yeah, that's about the exact number, yeah.
That means I've watched a lot of bowling. And probably about down lane where the ball's normally track and where it reads on like scoring units, it's probably about 16.5.
Yep.
So I would say, you're in the moderate. I mean, your speed to rev rate, you know, they're pretty equal. But I would say you're slightly more dominant on the rev rate side.
I agree.
But it's not far off.
So when you see people that are a little bit more dominant on the revs, they're probably going to be playing a little bit further left than most people, right?
Correct.
And if you're a little bit more speed dominant, where your revs might not be quite as high, you're going to be moving right. And those are where you see your down and inners and people that aren't really hitting the ball quite as hard as people like I am. much cleaner.
Much cleaner.
So yes, so I get to move over now.
You can move right.
Yeah. So
It's not going to force you left anymore.
So when you're dealing with a ball like that and you come up light, as you see, I left the 410 on this. There's at the 210.
That's 210.
Yeah, 210. I left the 210 because I didn't get quite around that as much either. The other ball was helping me a little bit more with the solid cover. It was reading sooner. So I, really tried to come up the back of that a little bit more. Didn't quite come around the corner because it's so much cleaner. Went a little bit longer. Not the same reaction. You guys might know who this guy is. Another pretty decent bowler with his thumb in the ball, but he wants to kind of convert these days, it seems like, so I don't know if we still claim him.
Wait, isn't everybody converting?
I'm just confused.
He's confused. He's like most of America these days. So I'm going to throw something a little bit cleaner, like I said, but move right because I came up light there.
Yeah.
And hopefully I don't hit it too hard and watch it overhook, which definitely can happen. So finding that middle ground and balance for me with my wrist and being able to actually feel comfortable, the natural arm swing of, my natural arm swing without having to try anything is really what I'm looking for. Which felt good there.
That's better. That was much better.
I'll take that all day.
That was
My arm
much better.
swing was a lot less fast.
Looser.
I wasn't forcing it. That's really the sweet spot. When we talk about bowling being a feel sport, for me, I know what shots feel the best. Like as soon as I let that go, I could almost tell you what it was gonna do. I know at 45 feet that's gonna make the move that I wanted to make. I can almost tell from seeing it too.
Yes.
The rotation on the ball. So.
Yeah. When Rich tends to, as he says, bring this axe rotation down, you can see those color swirls being a little bit more this way and kind of tilting this way. But on that shot, it was more going this way towards the pins. And the goal is to always get the ball rolling towards the pins, not away from it.
Yeah. Once it starts getting away from it, it's very dicey.
You don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Very sketchy situation. So I'll try to throw another one like that again. Another good one. Missed a little bit left though.
Yeah, missed a little bit
I'm
left.
not mad about the release, but I did miss a little left there.
Yeah, this shot that we're bowling on, we don't know what it is, but
No,
but
we
there's
don't.
not much room missing left.
Yeah, and then so there's an opportunity for me to pick up a spare to show you guys. Typically, I base it based off of whatever my strike ball is and where I'm standing for my strikes in the beginning. I know a lot of times if I look a couple boards left or right of wherever that is, I know I can get the ball where I want it to go. I'm not putting really any hand into it when I'm picking up my spares. Unless it's on the left side, I can actually hook that and just kind of let it do its thing on the right side of the lane. I know where it's going because of my rotation.
Yeah.
It's more of an experience thing. I would say for some people, find a spot that's comfortable though and know some of your boards. Like for instance, my 10 pins, I know exactly where I'm gonna stand and I know exactly what board I'm aiming for to hit my 10 pins. 7 pins included too. So those type of things that you leave commonly, figure out where you typically stand, where you pick those up best. That's an easy way to be able to help your score go up probably about 20, 30 pins.
At least. I mean, that brings a 170 bowler up to like 190, 200 just by picking up 2 extra spares.
So I can pretty much pick this up the same way I pick up a 10 pin. I may go a board inside of it because I'm, trying to kick out the 6-2, but.
Yeah, he's trying to slide that 6 pin over to the 4.
And of course I
spot,
botched
but
that.
he didn't get
but haven't picked up a spare in like 2 days.
Yeah.
But pretty much for me though, I'm standing, I know where for me is like the 36. And then I'm aiming at, because my miss is 4 boards, so wherever I'm aiming at, I'm usually hitting 4 boards left of it. So I always have to aim 4 boards right. I'm typically aiming at like the 17 or so, which would be probably around 20, 21 that I usually hit going through the middle. I don't have my spare ball with me today. So typically that ball I just threw probably would have carried and kept going. But that's why we use plastic balls, on those pins sometimes. Other than that, I would just straighten my hand out and try to hit that same mark. What would you say for your 10 pins that you typically think of?
Yeah, I mean, everyone has their own spare systems, and I highly recommend you kind of create your own. Like Rich was saying, everyone's a little bit different.
Yeah.
So for me, I usually, for my 10 pins, I line up here, and I drift a little bit, so I probably end up about here.
Like 35, 36,
yeah, about
almost
35,
the same place.
30, yeah, and I use the middle arrow as my targeting system. So if I'm shooting at a 10 pin, I'm looking at the middle arrow. But if I'm going for the 6 pin, all I do is I still aim at the middle arrow and I move my feet about a board or 2 to the right. If I want to shoot at the 3 pin, I move my feet to about here and I still throwing it at the middle arrow.
Nice.
And then for the other side, I do something similar, but I'm on this side and I use the third arrow, and I kind of I draw a line, and then that's how I shoot my spares, and I just move my feet and I keep my target the same.
It's all angles.
It's all angles, and for me, the simplest way to do it, instead of finding, 5 different marks to aim at, I just chose one for the right side spares, one for the left side spares, and that's what works for me.
Yeah. All right, so now I'm gonna throw my Ion Pro, low diff, hybrid, ASIM though.
It is ASIM.
So, I feel like that, what does that mean for you when it's actually ASIM versus symmetrical? What are you looking to see differently?
So with an ASIM and a symmetrical, it's a question that I get in the shop quite often, right? What is symmetrical? What's an asymmetrical? And the easiest way to kind of put it is that a symmetrical is the same all the way around, and an asymmetrical object is different on one side than the other as far as like weights or shapes. And as far as for bowling terms, the simplest way to put it, a symmetrical ball will keep hooking, meaning it wants to continuously have a long, continuous hook face. What an ASIM ball does is that transition from hook is very quick, and the stronger the asymmetrical ball, the more and sharper it's going to be. The less the asymmetrical that's in a ball, it's going to be a little bit less closer to a symmetrical ball. Okay. So that's the difference. So this one is it's a low intermediate differential ball. Okay. So it's on the lower end. So it's going to be closer to a symmetrical ball, but not quite as like the Ion Max or sorry, not the Ion Max, like a Harsh Reality, or like an Pearl. Or an XL, balls like that want to really change directions very quick. Okay. So we're gonna see something that's gonna be a little bit smoother, still gonna read in the mid lane.
Okay. So I would probably be moving a little bit right.
No, I would actually
stay where I am.
Stay where you are, so you can see what the ball is doing.
Let's see. Oh.
So what I always try to tell people, and it's really important, is when you're going from ball to ball, if you don't 100% already know what that ball is going to do, throw that ball that you're going to switch to on the same line you just threw it, so then it's easier for you to gauge. So now Rich knows that, okay, I just went high, I went 4-pin. Now I got to make a little bit of a move to the left.
So I'm going to move a board left, keep my eyes, well, I'm going to move my eyes with me aboard too. That feels better.
There it is.
Perfect flush. And that felt good. Didn't feel like I had to hit it too hard. Didn't feel like I was pulling it back with my shoulder. It felt really 70-30.
Yeah. All the good shots do.
Yeah. And honestly, when I throw my best balls, it doesn't even feel like I really let it go. I almost don't feel it at all. So that's how I know my feel is there and that my timing is good. I know my timing is a little bit different than most 3-finger bowlers because they don't have the, hop step pretty much like a 2-hander. I'm considered a hybrid, as Mark would say, where I have a 2-hand approach and a 1-hand release. I'll let Josh talk a little bit more about that after watching me, but I know that some of my 2-finger bowlers probably can figure out their timing spot from me, whereas the 3-finger bowlers can figure out the release.
You can see in Rich's approach, he has that quick step in his timing step right when he's about to slide, and what that does is it allows him to have a flat spot, because if he didn't have that and he was a little slower, his timing would be all out of whack. And that's just, everyone's different. Everyone has a different timing, and that's just what works for him. Yeah. And right now
sometimes.
But yeah, it's not wrong to have a hop step or a skip step. It's all about making sure on the 4th step is the ball on the top of the backswing. That's the timing spot. And when Rich does it properly, you can see right before he's about to slide, it's here, and then he goes. When he's
that's what it feels like when I'm waiting on it. When I'm here, it almost feels like I'm here for a couple seconds. And then I'm able to actually, and that's where keeping my arm patient and not forcing it becomes a little bit tougher, because I'm thinking, oh, I'm waiting on it. But how would that help somebody that literally doesn't bowl like me but needs to get in their timing spot for a traditional 3-finger?
Like I was doing some commentary while you were bowling. Okay. So I don't think you heard me, but
my bad.
I was talking about how the key in bowling is to always just to make sure that your feet and your ball is in the right spot, and you can have that term flat spot, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't understand what a flat spot is. And so a flat spot is from from here to your release. This area is your flat spot, and if your timing's out of whack, you don't have this flat spot. So no matter what your timing is, the goal is, the easiest way to check it is to grab a camera, either from the back or from the side. Side's probably a little bit easier to see it, and you can film yourself. And if you're here and when you're right about to release, if your right foot and your ball is at the top of the backswing, that means your timing is properly, and then you can slide, because you want to have time to slide and throw the ball. You don't want to slide and throw the ball at the same time. You want to slide first and then throw the ball.
And that keeps your balance.
And that keeps your balance, and that keeps you have that term, the flat spot.
The flat spot. Got you. So try to throw one more good one with the flat spot where it needs to be.
Money.
Felt good. It went so long, I threw it a little hard.
Yeah. It's like it's because you actually had more power now.
Yeah.
Because you were here, you're like, oh wow, I can just get through this ball.
I can do so much.
Boom.
Yeah.
And your arm just naturally just flowed right through it.
And when I'm in time like that, I can actually control my ball speed a lot easier. I can control my hand a lot easier, which gives me so much more range to be able to play, to be honest. And I came around that one a little bit too much, so I can understand why that came. That's pretty much, for the most part, a lot of the things that I think about. I know I'm not the traditional three-finger, traditional bowler, conventional bowler, but I am like a hybrid, kind of modern-day version of it. I haven't seen too many people bowl like me, but one of the things I will say that is universal for all bowlers that have a thumb, it's a timing spot. Making sure that your balance is, really intact. If you're not on balance, it's really hard to repeat shots. So that's one of the main things that I have to focus on. And it can look, as Mark would say, impressive in a good and bad way, depending on how you're utilizing these tools. Sometimes it's very hard for me to get back in time, but I've got tools like counting my steps that make it a little bit easier. You have that cadence in your head of like what it sounds like when you throw a good shot. As far as steps, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, if you're 5 steps. That's really important.
Picking up on that, yours actually would sound like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Exactly.
So, that's basically what he's talking about, and yeah, it's a really good thing to do. To know your tempo. That's probably a word that should be used is your tempo, right? Know your tempo and try to keep that tempo the same a lot.
Yeah, I would do that before I worry about getting the yo-yo release, guys. So as long as you can get that timing spot and have the ball coming out smoothly where it feels like you're not using any effort with your arm, it's kind of just swinging with a natural motion of gravity and momentum, you're usually going to be bowling higher scores. And practice your spares, that would be the next thing.
Yeah, and just to add on that, the most important thing about bowling, right? What are you trying to do, the object? You're trying to be accurate and roll a ball down the lane. So the easiest way to do that is to not think about everything else except for the fundamentals that get you to roll the ball properly and consistently to your target, which has a lot to do with what we talked about today.
Yep. Appreciate you, Josh.
Thank you again, Rich. Always.
Bay Area Pro Shop. Make sure you check them out if you're up in the Bay. You already know what it is. Cleanup crew. Shout out to the crew. Appreciate y'all. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, do all of that good stuff for us. We appreciate you always. Live from Las Vegas.
I need my broom because I think I'm a part of the cleanup crew.
Yeah, no, he's a cleanup crew on the reef for sure. We're going to give him the handshake next. You're going to see him popping the handshake out in the next videos. We appreciate y'all.